Hey everyone, it's Blue Lizard Jello, and welcome back to another episode of Everything Different in New Game Plus here in Dark Souls 2. And today we have quite the feat ahead of us as we tackle both Drangleic Castle and Shrine of Amana. So let's go ahead and get started. First things first, we travel to the Ruined Fork Road, and after we take out the Flexile Sentry, we're now greeted with not just the normal Hollow Infected, but we also have this Black Phantom Hollow Infected as well. Nothing too special, nothing too dangerous, and really nothing to be gained from it. But he's there, so I'm letting you know. Next, this is not a new enemy, however, as you've seen in previous videos and you've heard me talk about before, in New Game Plus and beyond, you do have the ability to pick up pieces of the Paid Knight armor. And I wanted to show the end of this fight so you could show that I do indeed get a piece of that armor. In this case, it's the leggings. Hooray! Coming up to Drangleic Castle, once we get past the Primal Knight statues that come to life, you'll also notice that running towards me is a Black Phantom. Now this Black Phantom was a royal pain in my behind, if I can be honest with you, because he's carrying the Drakekeeper hammer, and well, he really knows how to use it. He seemed to channel his inner smoke quite a bit for this fight, so for the sake of not making this video too long, I do go ahead and speed it up, just to show that I was indeed victorious in the end. You would think that maybe Shanalot would actually help out, seeing as she's watching me get pummeled by this guy, but, you know, not so much. He is very quick and seems to have quite a bit of poise. Not a lot of stunning. I mean, it's not that he wasn't stunning, that's not meant to be an insult. But finally I decide that my lightning infused bow is going to be the tool for the job in order to take him out. You can actually pick up the Drakekeeper hammer from that phantom, but I was not so lucky. Now up at the top of the stairs at Drangleic Castle, as we're activating the golems, in New Game you would have a series of 3 Royal Swordsmen coming from that left hand side in order to, number one, cause you issues in order to get the doors open, but also to give you an endless supply of enemies just in case you weren't able to kill the first ones in order to activate the golems. However, now in New Game Plus, they ramp up the difficulty by adding in another Royal Swordsman, bringing the total to 4. Next in Drangleic Castle, run up the stairs past Chancellor Welliger and head into the throne room, where in New Game, there's really nothing for you to do here. However, in New Game Plus, and yes, you can do this using a bonfire ascetic, we will face a pair of pursuers. However, I'm going to show you a trick to make sure you only have to deal with one of them. The key is, stay alive until one of them does this glowing blue sword attack, and then purposefully get hit by it. Yes, you will be cursed, yes, that pursuer will be buffed, but what you're going to notice afterwards is that the pursuer who did not land that attack on you is actually going to leave. Only for the time being, though. So we'll go ahead and speed this video up. You've seen me fight the pursuer several times. Hopefully you understand that I know what I'm doing when it comes to these guys. And this is 300% speed, so this fight did take a little while. However, you do want to come up here into this room and fight them, in my opinion, because at least one of the drops is well worth it. The other one, there are easier ways to get it. But once you've taken out the pursuer that spawned on the left-hand side, you can get the Ring of Blades +2, so the best version of the Ring of Blades, which I will go ahead and put on post-haste. Next, as long as you've rested a bonfire, you can come back and the other pursuer will spawn, and you can get a Twinkling Titanite. In this room, right past the 6 Rune Sentinels, in the wooden chest we have 30 Dark Arrows instead of the 15. And then up here, and this is quite the change, instead of getting a Soul of a Hero, Old Radiant Life Gems, and a Monastery Charm, you can actually pick up a copy of Great Magic Barrier. Interesting. here in this corrosive sludge, in this wooden chest here. You can actually get Titanite slab and corrosive urns. In new game, all you'll get are the corrosive urns. And here we are showing the dual Dragonrider boss fight. Same boss fight as before. You don't get any other interesting drops. There are no additions to the boss fight. It's just a little bit more difficult. But I always like to have the first Dragonrider use his halberd to actually knock down the platform with the archer. That way we can take him out because he has considerably less health. And thanks to the engraved gauntlets, that was very quick work. Dodged maybe a little bit off that time. However, you all have said it in the comments below in previous videos, and I am now a true believer in the power that is the fire longsword, especially once you have flame weapon. And that is the dual Dragonriders on New Game Plus. Thrilling, I know. Moving right along into this next room with the Primal Knights and the Xian Knights, as well as the Alonne Captains. On either side of the hallway up above, you will actually get extra Alonne Captain. So just keep that in mind. Takes a little bit longer to get through this room. It's not really any more difficult, especially if you decide to cheese them at range. But just be warned, now there are 3 instead of 2 on either side. And cheese them I do. In hindsight, I probably could have sped this up. Maybe just think really fast as this video is playing and it'll seem like it's sped up. I know that doesn't work. I'm trying to make the best of this. And with the Alonne Captains down, we can head upstairs and turn to the left, and there's a wooden chest that in new game we got 10 fire great arrows. But once we dodge the poison and we head back, we'll actually get 20 fire and destructive great arrows. Pretty good trade up. And at the top of this obnoxiously long elevator where the embedded resides, we now actually have a Black Phantom. So keep that in mind, and it looks like they're using the washing pole, so they do have tremendous reach, and I also have horrendous skills at parrying. So just like we did with the previous Black Phantom fight, we'll go ahead and just speed this up a bit. Especially because we do a lot of dancing around this cage. I'm sure the Milfanito would have helped had she been able. I don't blame her. I blame the embedded. Alright, finally we got a parry. Still, the damage really wasn't sufficient. You'll also notice that I'm no longer using the Fire Longsword. I've actually switched it out for the Drakekeeper sword. And the reason is we're going to be coming against the Mirror Knight here soon. And considering he is drenched in rain at all times, fire just didn't seem like the most practical weapon to use. Here we get an Old Radiant Lifegem and a Petrified Dragon Bone, which is a step up from the single Lifegem that you get in your first time through this area in New Game. Finally starting to get the parry down. And those items are the same. I decided just not to cut the video here because we're just about at the boss fight. And if you thought for a second that we wouldn't be summoning our boy Benny, then you were mistaken. You know, I can't remember the last time that I successfully dodged that attack. For some reason, the Looking Glass Knight is actually one of the more difficult bosses for me. Even though his moves are very well telegraphed, he gives you plenty of time to dodge or even to make a decision on which way to dodge. I find it very difficult to actually time the dodges correctly. There's one. I also hate that shield. Luckily, Benny is more than capable of whittling him down as I unsuccessfully dodge his attack after attack after attack. Okay, another successfully dodged leaping attack, followed by a swing that I decide to just take on the chin. Now's our opportunity, Benny, let's go. Or, you know, just get squashed by the mirror. I'm sorry, the Looking Glass. Get another buff up. Well-timed buff, I might add. And I decided to head over here, and I was going to help Benny, but, well, Benny doesn't need help. I love that sound of the engraved gauntlets proccing. Because then I know that my damage actually meant something. Benny is almost down for the count. Gotta make quick work. Well, that didn't go well. I thought about throwing in the towel purposefully, just so we could continue with this quest line, but you know what? I thought maybe I would just stay, and instead I would avenge his death. His needless death. If I can actually get up close to him. Roll into the lightning, never a bad idea, except when it's always a bad idea. And now's my opportunity because he is about to summon another mirror friend. With only a few hits left, I decide to take one to the back. I decide to heal up, avoid this pate wannabe, take some lightning on the left, take another stab to the back, really love those, and then decide to run and jump out of the way and be slashed in the back and cut down to my prime. Benny would be very disappointed. Lisai. Okay, but here's the same fight, again with Benny in tow, speeding it up so you don't have to sit through that painful process of me failing my dodges the entire time in normal speed. And we'll see how this fight goes. Spoiler alert, I eventually beat him. Especially since I said I traveled to the Shrine of Amana. So far so good. I have the Squire's attention, so I'll take him out. Meanwhile, Benny is really holding his own. He was. And with the Looking Glass Knight down, we not only get his soul, but this time around we also get the Ring of Protection +2, which is an extra +100 defense. And moving right along, we'll head down into the Shrine of Amana, and the very first change is this item hidden under the stairs. In New Game, we got a large soul of a Nameless soldier, and this time we actually get the soul of a brave warrior. Next we have this sad little priestess right here. She has no attacks. She is not one of the mages that cast the soul arrows. No, she is just a healer. And she was brought out to assist the 3 drakes that we fight. And yet, they pull with aggro very easily, whereas she stays behind, and now she just kind of wanders around really sad. And we can just loot around her. You can even leave her. There's no reason to kill her. Bloodlust, is obviously a valid reason, which we will actually utilize in just a moment, but there's no reason to kill her. Her sad AI just wanders around aimlessly looking for an enemy to heal. It's probably the saddest story in Dark Souls 2. I used to think that Lucatiel's was one of heartbreak and sorrow. And now I just feel for this priestess. So I decided to put her out of her misery. And next we have this Black Phantom. Very interesting, this Phantom actually uses the Butcher's Knife. Draw whatever lore implications you'd like from that. Whether this Phantom has actually defeated the Rotten and then traded for that weapon, I'm not really sure. But we will go ahead and dispatch of this Phantom pretty easily. I've always found the Butcher's Knife is fairly easy to dodge. Now next, this item inside this house, we get a large soul of a Brave Warrior and Elizabeth Mushroom. Now in New Game, all you get is a large soul of a Proud Knight and an Old Radiant Lifegem. Now there is no change here, however, I will never not use a Seed of a Tree of Giants on this NPC whenever I can. There's just something about watching Peculiar Kindler just getting bounced around like a ping pong ball in between these 2 priestesses. But that is actually all for changes in the Shrine of Amana. Very, very few things have changed, whereas in Drangleic Castle we did see quite a few things. So now we'll just take out the Demon of Song, an enemy that at this point doesn't prove to be too much of a threat. Now, this attack can be pretty deadly if you don't run straight back. However, as long as you're smart and you know when to start running, you should be fine. Anytime he does the hand slam, you should be able to get at least 3, if not 4 hits in. One more body slam ought to do it. I was a bit nervous because I didn't realize I was that close to the wall. But no worries. Kill the Demon of Song, get his soul, get my beloved Key to the Embedded, which I do end up using as a key, not as a weapon this time around. But that's going to do it for Drangleic Castle and Shrine of Amana. So I hope you guys learned something. If you did, leave me a comment below. If I missed something, please make sure you leave me that comment as well. And I will catch you guys next time in the Undead Crypt.